everyone. So I was going to talk about sustainability, but I realized that was boring, so we're going to do something else. So we're just going to do this kind of basic battle. Who would win in a fight, Batman or Superman? First off, Batman. Raise your hand.
Oh, definitely.
This requires hand raising. Okay, Superman.
Nope.
Yes! Awesome! Okay, I'm going to continue from here.
I don't want to hear this no more.
It's called Nope. And basically what I'm going to talk about today is why Superman is objectively a better superhero than Batman for several different reasons. Because recently, as Forbes noted in its most recent article, every year they run this thing where they ask for the favorite superhero of like everyone in the world. They always consistently vote for Batman, with Superman actually coming in third under Spider-Man, which is an insult to everyone. So that's why this is an issue for me, because first of all, Spider-Man is the worst, and Batman should not be at the top, and that's kind of why we're talking about this today. So first of all, I'm going to start off with my point where we're gonna be measuring the Man of Steel against the Dark Knight. Wink. And then secondly, we're going to be talking about who rules the world, and then lastly, we'll be going over their eHarmony profiles. So first, let's go to this idea of measuring who is better. Now, obviously, if you're looking at very objectively, Superman is obviously the better superhero. Why? Because he's actually a superhero. And Batman has no power, so he's really like a billionaire with a hobby, which is what we call Donald Trump, and he's not a superhero. So let's go over some of the more specific reasons that Superman is obviously a better superhero. And I've listed some of his powers here. He has flight and super speed and super flight, so fast that he can turn time back somehow. He has laser vision, x-ray vision, faster than a speeding bullet, can catch it between his teeth, and the list goes on and on. Basically, it was kind of like anything you could think of while they were writing the character. So he's essentially a god, and if you look at his creation history, they actually base the character of Superman on Greek myths like Hercules. Now let's look at Batman. He has no powers whatsoever. His power is basically being rich. And that's not a superpower, but if it was, I would really like that superpower. And now let's look at some of the other things that he does. In order to hide his secret identity, because he's so rich in the Dark Knight movies, he actually had to embezzle from his own company, which Forbes listed as the richest fictional company of all time. So he embezzled billions of dollars from his company in order to build the Batmobile, to give himself a suit, to build a Batcave, and let's look at some of the difficulties in the situation. He's embezzling money. He's trying to write off bat ears as a business expense. So just let that sink in. And in order to hide it in the movie, he orders thousands of them. Because that's a great idea to keep it hidden from the public. You order thousands of bat ears through your company and have them shipped to your warehouse. So not only is he laundering and embezzling money from his own company, which is strictly illegal and ever probably sent to prison, but he also has no powers and essentially just is a rich, handsome man. Okay, and while Hercules was the idea and starting point for the creation of Superman, Sherlock Holmes was actually the starting point in creation for Batman, which is not so good when you look at it because Sherlock Holmes had a coke problem in the books. And I'm not making that up. And they only incorporated Robin as a character because they thought it would appear too crazy if Batman talked to himself all the time. And I'm not making that up too. So now let's move on to the second point I wanted to talk about today, which is about who rules the world. And basically I'm going to be examining two of the most popular Justice League movies, Doom and Under the Red Hood, which feature both Superman and Batman. Under the Red Hood doesn't feature Superman. So first let's look at the concept of Doom. In this process, there is Savage attempts to take over the world. I'm not going to go into his backstory because we'll spend all day here, but he attempts to overtake the world by sending Mirror Master into Batman's lair and stealing Batman's contingency plans for the rest of the Justice League. What does this mean? This means that even though Batman is friends with everyone in the Justice League, he created a fallback plan in order to kill all of them in case anything went wrong. So basically the entire plot of that whole movie is set into motion because Batman doesn't trust anyone, and he essentially manages to kill off all his friends by sending a kryptonite bullet through Superman's heart, by injecting Diana, who is a Wonder Woman, with a drug that makes her think that everybody is She-Ra, a Catwoman, so she fights them off, and it kind of just crazy. So we know that Batman obviously has trust issues, and this is why he goes on this murderous rampage and the world is threatened to begin with. But we see that Superman is an awesome guy because at the end of the movie, what does he do to Batman? He gives Batman back the kryptonite bullet that shot him through the heart and nearly killed him and said, this was a good idea. Well, it wasn't, but Superman's a nice guy. He's willing to forgive his friend for planning to kill him. So that's okay. Now we'll look at who is better at protecting the ones they love when we're looking at who is the better superhero overall. And that's where Under the Red Hood comes into it. If you know anything about Batman, you know that it's actually a plethora of Batmen, because there's more than one, because he's human and mortal and dies. So the second Batman was actually the first Robin. But what they don't tell you is that the third Robin actually gets killed under the hands of Batman, and because of this, they have an entirely new supervillain created. So we are realizing that Batman is awful, and he essentially kills off the Robins who are with him, which if you think about it, is weird that he has a tight-wearing, acrobatic teenage boy locked up in his Batcave. So that's an issue. And it's even worse that he's managed to kill off kill off the Robins so far that he's created a new supervillain for himself. And when it comes down to doing the hard stuff and putting away supervillains, Batman has repeatedly fallen short of killing the Joker, even though he's had the opportunity to several times, saying, you know, things are not good, I shouldn't have to kill him. But the problem is he's killed plenty of people before, so really, it shouldn't be an issue because that guy is crazy. Now, we'll go to the last point, which is eHarmony profiles of Batman and Superman. So if we're looking at the eHarmony profiles of both these men, we see that technically they're both orphans, which means technically no one has an excuse for being a vigilante jerk. Let's get that out of the way. Just because Batman's parents were killed, it's not a big deal. Superman's entire race was killed. Essentially, the Holocaust of his whole planet happened, and somehow still Batman has it worse, and he's going to act like a spoiled kid. Oh no, I have billions of dollars. Darn. So that's what we really want to look at today. And BBC America has noted that Superman's reason for popularity is because he embodies the American spirit. Because he's someone who's hardworking, he always strives to do the good thing, even if it's hard. And he's someone that pushes these and fights for social change and values in the community that he's in. In fact, in his initial creation in 1938 by Siegel and Schuster, they tried to create a political activist with Superman. Someone who would take challenges and support labor and support people who are in the middle of the Great Depression, which is what they tried to do with the character, and it shows in what he is today. Now this ironically ends up being one of the main concerns with people who dislike Superman, saying that he's boring. That is horribly incorrect. Superman is not boring, and I have no, no. Okay, let's go on to the second point, which is Batman, and Anthony, stop rolling your eyes. And this is why Batman's eHarmony profile would read like, if you think about it, Batman is really just a trust fund baby. He inherited billions of dollars from his parents. And then instead of spending it wisely or doing actual social good, he decides to dress up in a mask every night and go out and kick people in the butt. And if we look at something especially good, his parents were social activists. In The Dark Knight Rises, his parents create a very inexpensive train system in order to help people go to work. What happens at the end of the movie? Batman blows it up! Oh, he's the worst! He uses it in order to kill one person, and he kills him. He actually kills him in a situation that would never have happened if you just called up his buddy Superman and let him take over it. Now let's go to the main clincher in all of this system, and that is Lois Lane and the women in these guys' lives. In a certain series of comic book subplots in the whole Justice League scenario, Batman actually dates Lois Lane for a while, and instead of being a jerk about it, Superman's all cool with it because he's the best bro ever. I know no situation where that would be alright. If the love of your life is dating your best friend and you're totally chill with it, and somehow that's alright, but because Superman is the nicest person or nicest alien in the world, we have to give him credit for this fact. So, what have we learned today? We've learned that objectively, Superman is a better superhero than Batman, and that all opinions otherwise should be disregarded now and forevermore, because Batman is a vigilante jerk who would, if he ever got caught by the law, would be thrown into prison and arrested. The end.